This is the video and the interpretation thereof of the video thereof. Hunga hunka burning love, amen. Okay, I told you I was going to do this video of how to do no touch, touchless, no contact strikes and throws. That there's this way that was demonstrated on me that one minute I'm standing there in front of this couch and the next minute I'm falling over backwards without the guy even touching me, right? And it's actually just a parlor trick. It's not anything supernatural or anything, but I thought I'd go through it just for fun and tell you what it was like, what happened, and how it works. And I'm sure there may be other ways to get people to do something similar that maybe they wouldn't be such a parlor trick as this, but I think this is pretty interesting, and I hope you like it. And in the comments below, if any of you have experienced such a thing as a no-contact strike or throw, or you know how another way that it's done, would you please just write that down, because it will be interesting to learn about. So one day, man, it was just me and Las Vegas Tai Chi teacher Mike Felkoff standing in his house. And if you know anything about martial arts history, you'll know that Mike Felkoff was one of the guys involved in the Chicago Dojo Wars. And that he was actually present when these two dojos got together and fought it out, man. He was called in to try to keep things under control, but he was actually on the scene, and he had to testify in court because one guy got stabbed and died there. Yeah, just do a search on the Chicago Dojo Wars and you can find out about him. And in that mix was this guy named Count Dante. That's his creative name. If you are a comic book fan, you will know that in the back of comic books there was this secret death touch course that was advertised by Count Dante, right? And he was, his real name's John Keehan or Keehan, man. I should have checked it. It's Keehan, I'm pretty sure. But actually, all those guys, they interact. John Keehan was a cool, a larger-than-life character, man. He used to walk these... man like a tiger or a lion right down the street in Chicago, and he was really a creative guy. He had some legitimate skills, and one of his students, Raymond Cooper, I knew him. In fact, he was at a seminar that I translated for, because I'd learned some Chinese when I was a missionary in Taiwan years ago. And there was this 87-year-old master named Lu Hongbin that came into Las Vegas to put on a seminar, and I got to translate for it. And if you look at my About page on PrestonFlat.com, there's a video on there where I'm translating for Lu Hongbin, and standing against the wall is Raymond Cooper, one of Count Dante's students. But actually, I will say that man, Raymond Cooper, he studied from so many skilled masters and teachers. That was just his early training that he learned from him. And Master Raymond Cooper went on to originate his own martial arts techniques, shackle hands, and I got to learn a bit of a form from one of Raymond Cooper's students. And Raymond Cooper became known as Nganga Tolo Naa. And how do I say, Kizungu, no, Kiswahili changu si kizuri vile. Sorry, my Swahili's not that good. But anyhow, you'll see Raymond Cooper or Master Nganga Tolo Naa standing against the wall, and then against the other wall is Mike Felkoff. He goes out and he picks up my son in the middle of the seminar as my son's crawling across the floor. And he picked him right up. And that's the guy I learned this from, Mike Felkoff. So Mike is for sure a controversial figure. I'm not going to say he's not. But I'm saying with all that controversy, even knowing Count Dante and all of that, he really did have a legitimate martial arts background, man. I've seen what he can do. He could support his entire body on just one leg, and he had a real strong foundation in like Shotokan, and he knew Shaolin forms and just all kinds of cool stuff. And I got to learn from him this form, the Laoyang or Old Yang form, as was passed through Lu Hongbin. And then their lineage also had the temple style, or the version of Yang Jia Mi Chen, Tai Ji Chen, the secret family style, through Huo Qi Kuang, who was apparently studied with, the saying goes that he studied with Yang Xiaoho and like that, Yang Banho perhaps. But it is a fact that he also studied with Wang Yanyan in Taipei, and Wang Yanyan has a slightly different version of the same form. Man, I just took you on a big loop around the trivial world. But I want to say, I guess what I'm saying is, even legitimate martial artists, sometimes they'll be aware of these kind of parlor tricks that people can do to sell different techniques and stuff. So Mike Felkoff says to me, he says, man, do you want to try this no touch, no contact, touchless throw or strike thing? Some people just dismiss it as a parlor trick, but I bet I can knock you the heck right off your feet without even touching you. And I said, yeah, right. But I would like to try that. I think it sounds pretty cool. So, and I do share it here because on some level it may have actually worked as it was supposed to. Why in the world would I say that? It's because I did fall backward onto a couch without even being touched, without any physical contact whatsoever. And so now I want to give a disclaimer that this is only one way to do it. There are other ways, I bet, besides this, and maybe some of those work in like a different way that may be more legit or that has different principles involved. So this is informational only. Stay safe, man. Don't go around knocking people off their feet without touching them. Especially little old ladies and little old men, you know. Have some common decency, will you? And I want to say now also follow all the disclaimers on my PrestonFlat.com website and also below the videos, so that you stay safe and don't do anything dumb, man. So here's exactly what my teacher at the time, Mike Felkoff, did, and how it may have worked. So the first thing we have to do is find a nice, soft, comfortable place to land for these no-touch, touchless, no-contact throws and strikes. So I was standing there, and the teacher and I looked around the room for some place soft enough to land on. if I was to fall back onto it. I mean, there was the nice big glass window that I could have stood in front of. I thought, no, I don't want to stand there. There was his biting dog, an Akita, that had bit his nose bit him right in the nose and left a scar. I could have fallen onto the dog. No, I don't think I want to fall there. Actually, I don't remember. I don't think the dog was there for this part. But it is true. He had a big, just a gigantic, out of control, lunging, snapping dog that just bit the snot out of his nose, and he had a scar there. Yeah, but then when we looked this other direction, there was a nice, soft, comfortable looking padded couch with cloud-like cushions that, man, it looked so great that I would have sat there even if I wasn't thrown onto the dang thing. So we picked the couch, and I don't remember for sure, but he might have asked me if I thought it would be soft enough to land on. But what we did is we kind of checked and double-checked together and imagined various angles of me flying through the air, falling backward onto it to make sure that it would be safe and comfortable if I was to fall backward and land onto that thing. And you can see that just thinking through it in so many different ways, right, that would build response potential. Because I'd be standing there considering those different ways and thinking if I'd even want to do it, right? So by that point, oh man, I had already imagined falling backward onto that sofa in my mind a whole bunch of different ways and different times. And after all of that, I was still standing there. So you can see that just by still standing there, that was a sure sign to the teacher that I was going to be mentally prepared to fall backward onto the couch. Because if I hadn't been, I wouldn't still be standing there after all those rehearsals. So that shows some level of cooperation with the idea of getting tossed backward. Now, I don't remember if he actually had me do a test fall first just to make sure it was soft enough and comfortable enough to land on. But can you see that might have been an excellent way to further build the response potential? And that's because people are more likely to do things and move in ways that they know are comfortable, that they're used to, and especially if they know they're not going to get hurt, or they know that it might even feel good after standing all that time to finally get to sit down on a nice soft padded couch. So that's what my Las Vegas Tai Chi teacher, so what he did next was to have me stand in front of the couch, and I backed right up against it, right, with my heels and calves right up against the couch. So what this meant is that there was literally no place for me to go. There's no way that I could scramble with my feet if I was to lose balance. And this was important for making the technique or the parlor trick work, because people they tend to use movement to solve pressure that's applied to their body, whether it's physical pressure or even if it's just the threat of pressure, like if someone comes right at them and they're wanting to escape, their body's going to tense up in certain ways and respond in certain ways that will mean they're trying to move, right? They're trying to use physical movement in response to that pressure. And with backed right up against the couch, there's just no way to go, nowhere really to go, except back onto that soft, comfortable, inviting couch or sofa. So I did do a different article on my website prestonflat.com that used the example of when someone's walking toward you on the wrong side of the sidewalk. And I use that to explain that when something or someone is walking right at you, it can literally create a feeling of physical pressure. Yes, physical pressure that you can actually feel building up and changing within the body. With each step toward you that they take, you'll feel more and more pressure. Like, are they going to finally get on the correct side of the sidewalk or what, So even if they're at some distance from you, even if they're way down there, but the sidewalk is narrow and it looks like now you got this flippin' conundrum. You got to figure out who's going to yield. Are they going to want to go to the right where you're going to want to go because you're a keeper of rules in America, and you know that in America, in the USA, where people speak English, we also walk on the right side of the sidewalk? Or are they going to, So you have all those pressures and considerations that add into what you feel on the inside. I mean, literally a physical feeling of pressure. And I just, in that article, I showed that pressure can be neutralized by movement. Even pressure without them touching you can be neutralized. Yeah, so that could be, maybe they would change where they walk or the way they walk. Maybe they could deep breathe or use some other method, but or even just stepping off the sidewalk and letting the other person go past. A lot of ways to neutralize that. I better not talk about that one here, though, man. We got to keep on to this no contact throw idea. So in summary, man, using this type of pressure, even this no contact pressure, usually involves moving if the person is able to move in a way that makes sense. And in this instance, I had nowhere else to go because I was pre-positioned with my calves back, right back against the couch. I wasn't teetering, but I was right back against the couch. And it took away most of those other avenues of neutralization. And that meant I had nowhere else to go except, thankfully, back onto that wonderfully soft, comfortable, inviting couch. So people will usually respond in the best way that they know how, but when those options are removed from them, then they rely on whatever else they can scrounge up and figure out at the time. And if you take those away and they don't have another clear choice right there, then they're stopped. And when they're stopped, they are like dead in the water, basically. They're flat-footed, and they just they're unable to respond. So for this example, the best remaining option for me was just to move out of the way, backward, and fall onto the couch. I want you to know, though, that if I had been pre-positioned in front of a fire, in front of sharp glass, in front of a vat of acid, I would have neutralized that much, much earlier by running out of that place as fast as I could, right? I mean, I actually never would have even agreed to stand there with my back to it to begin with. So you can see that the teacher would know in advance if that took, well, I don't know if that's exactly accurate, but anyhow, the teacher can tell how likely you're going to be to want to fall back onto the couch, depending on what he positions you in front of. in front of the vat of acid and you run out of the room, he can tell that you're not going to keep standing there while he does that. So, but for me, standing in front of that couch, man, it would be about as comfortable as signing up for a massage. And I was ready to see if it would work. So for that test, I was pre-positioned right on the edge. Like I said, I wasn't teetering, but was in a position that with the very tiniest backward lean, I would fall backward. And because of the positioning, it made it possible for the technique to be so slight and so subtle as to allow what my touchless throw teacher did next. And that is how to use Kung Fu to sell no touch, touchless, no contact throws and strikes. So teacher Mike Felkoff then got into a way impressive looking Kung Fu posture. He did a great looking Kung Fu deep breathing type of energy wind up. And then he came right steadily, squarely right at me with his approaching hand in such a way that if I did not neutralize it and move, I would for sure get pushed right over. And sure enough, I did feel the pressure of wanting to avoid it, but I could do nothing except fall backward onto the couch. And that was without even being touched, okay? So whatever I did to try to neutralize it at that time, in total, it just resulted in me falling backward onto the couch. I might not even be aware of all I might have tried to do to neutralize it. But there's just such a close connection between the spirit, mind, and body that physically I fell right back without any physical contact. I think it would have looked pretty cool from the outside. I mean, if somebody had had like a video of that, you see the Kung Fu teacher doing what he did. That looked way stupid. But anyhow, I think it would have looked pretty cool on video. And it might have just been the power of suggestion. That's possible, right? It might have been hypnosis, or it might have been simple physics. And maybe I had just enough of my own element of belief in there to tip the scales. Because it wouldn't take much from that teetering, or pre-teetering, sounds bad. Yeah, it wouldn't have taken much to tip the scales, but I'm just trying to say whatever it was, man, there I had been one moment standing with my heels and calves right back against the sofa, not leaning, feet underneath me, and a moment or two later, there I was, sitting on the soft, comfortable sofa. I had been moved off my place without even being touched. And I would suggest now, if you'd please like and subscribe to my videos, but also would you please comment below if you have any other ideas on how this might have worked, or if you've witnessed or experienced anything similar. And if that thing that you experienced works somehow different than what I've put together on this video. I'm always anxious to find out what you might understand about it. All right. Oh. Till next time, man.